Hey everybody, it's JetGirl888 and this is part 2 of my pedal board setup. The first thing I had to do was measure my board so that I could go out and buy some Velcro. I had to get long enough strips for the rails. After the Velcro was acquired, for some reason I decided to untangle it in the worst possible way ever. And so I probably spent about 5 to 10 minutes trying to untangle 15 feet worth of Velcro. Before I cut the Velcro, I would put them against the board so that I could measure them, and then I would mark them with a Sharpie so that I would remember where I needed to cut them. And then of course I repeated that process 4 times because there are 4 rails on the pedal board. And now it's time to place some Velcro on the board. I did the first 2 pieces correctly, and then I had a brain fart and decided to pull the entire sticker off the back of the last one, so I had a little bit of a harder time with that one. Now that the board is all ready to go, I can start on the pedals. All of the pedals had Velcro on the back, so I had to remove all of that, and then of course it left a lovely little residue on it. So that means I'll need some good old Goo Gone. After I clean the Ibanez, I can start measuring to make sure I cut the right amount of Velcro for the back. I made sure to film all those nice peels on the sticker for the Velcro. This one I'm placing 2 different pieces on. Since there's kind of like a battery cover on the back, I didn't really want to cover that up just in case. I had trouble with this one though because the bottom Velcro kept coming off, and so I had to redo it like 4 times. Now we can move on to the tuner pedal. This one didn't have as much residue, so I just kind of cleaned it a little gently before I put the Velcro on. After I would place the Velcro, I would put them on the board to make sure that they would pass a stress test where I would very aggressively wiggle them around and see if they would stay on. The fuzz pedal had a giant piece of Velcro on the back, so I had a little bit of a hard time getting that off, and then of course it left like 10 pounds of goo on the back. And now we have the wah, which didn't have any Velcro on it, but I still wanted to make sure it was clean before I put anything on the back. I was surprised that the wah pedal was able to stay on the board because it is colossal, so that was very nice. Now we can flip the board over. I'm going to be putting the engine room on the back side of the board because I thought that would be a little bit more convenient than having cables flying around everywhere on the top half. So I'm going to put some Velcro on the underside, and then I'm going to put some Velcro on the engine room. Now that the engine room is placed, it's time to flip the board over and start putting on the pedals. It took me a minute to figure out kind of how to organize everything because the wah pedal is gigantic, so it kind of makes things a little bit harder sometimes. And once I get them all set up, I can start working on managing the cables in the back. I used some zip ties to kind of keep the cables together, and then I zip tied them to one of the rails on the board as well. And now that everything's done, I think it's time for a final reveal. And now the ultimate pedal board. One singular distortion pedal. Just kidding! Here's the actual pedal board. Look at all those shiny pedals on that new fancy pedal board. I decided to also film me throwing all my trash away and cleaning up after myself, and you can tell that I can remember where the tools go in the toolbox after opening every single drawer. And in case you were wondering, I film a lot of the videos by holding a GoPro in my mouth. And now that I am finished with the pedal board, I can move on to my next project, which is putting strings on my Stratocaster. Thanks for watching!